Hello students. In our previous video, we have discussed the explanation of our casuarina tree. Today, we will study about its critical appreciation. Our casuarina tree, a poem written in English by the Indian writer Toru Dutt, celebrates the majesty of the casuarina tree as the poet, speaker, remember her happy childhood days spent under it and revives her memories with her beloved siblings. The fact that the tree is associated in the speaker mind with other person is already foreshadowed in the poem's title through the use of the word our. The speaker perspective is immediately more than merely her own. The title already implies that she thinks of the tree as not simply hers but as belonging to the others too. The opening image, which compares a large creeper crawling around the tree to a huge python, might at the first seem dark, foreboding, but the image ultimately emphasizes the great strength of the tree itself. For some reader, the tree symbolizes the potentially deadly influence of colonialism most immediately, though the creeper itself seems to add a kind of beauty to the tree. It, after all, is called a scarf, a word with fairly positive connotations. Although the creeper has left deep mark on the trunk of the tree is so strong that it bears the tight hold of the creeper. The tree is decided as being gallant and possibly brave. A very few trees could survive in a stranglehold of this creeper. The tree is a metaphorical said as a giant due to its huge size, strength, and boldness. The casuarina tree is covered with a creeper which bears red crimson flower that appears as though the tree is wearing a colorful scarf. The poet then goes on to describe the life that thrives amidst every facet of the tree. Interestingly, it is only in the first line of the second stanza of her poem that Dutt brings in I, which instantly connects it with R of the title of her poem. As the tone as well as approach is more subjective in this stanza, the casuarina tree too seems much more than a mere tree in the poet's garden. Every morning, when the casement is wide open, youth, two delighted eyes rest on it. At time, most in winter, they gaze at a solitary grey baboon on the crest, watching the glorious sunrise while on the lower branches, in direct contrast to this silent salute like creature. Is its playful punning of spring, oblivions of nature, magic, and the serenity of the quiet morning. Gradually, as the sun rises, the kokilas begin to greet the day with the song, and a memorized speaker watches the sleepy cows that have not yet shaken off their lethargic on the way to pastures. But while they plod on in search of food, a poet feasts her eyes on the beauty of their horse tree and the water tank filled with the white lilies in the full bloom, a soft white carpet of snow. But the beauty of the tree is not more than an added gift. Its actually important lies in the fact that it is a part of poet's existence, a reminder of family ties, of the warmth shared by their three siblings. The extent of her anguish as a quiet helplessly she had to watch her brother and sister die may actually be felt, yet it is a silent acceptance of God will that has kept her verse free from the glooming generally associated sorrow and death. Her brother died when he was just a boy of 14. Arun was next to go in 1874, and there was a time when Toru too was coughing up blood and knew that the end was near. Hence, she could have legitimately bawled in self pity and wailed that the world was an unhappy place where people just sit and hear each other groan. Instead, even when memory is heart wrenching and hot tears well up to blind her, Toru does not express any desire to fade far away and dissolve. The casuarina tree does not make her long for easeful death. Instead, even though its timelessness mocks the traces of this human world, the tree is to her a support, a reminder of the joy she once experienced with Abju and Aru. So, with the passion of loving sister, she remembers her sweet companions and cries, "For your sake shall the tree be ever dear." Her brother and sister, though dead, are never too far away from her memories. Now we will see what is the figure of speech in the casuarina tree. In our casuarina tree, the first line was zoomorphism, describing the vine in animal terms as a python. This is used to illustrate movement, making the tree seem more actively alive, and also by implying movement, there is a stable indication of the process of time. Now, the line, "The giant wear the scarf," is a personification of the tree. For the speaker, the tree is a link to her past. In a way, she treats the tree like a person that can conjure these memories as if it could speak and tell these stories. In the last line of the second stanza, the speaker uses simile to describe the water lilies like snow and mist. In the third stanza, the line is personified again, singing its lament, which might be wind rustling through the leaves, a dirge like murmur, mourning the loss of past. Personification is used again in the next stanza. Example are eye of faith, the waves gently kissed, and the earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon. The speaker envisions nature as a living and maybe even a conscious entity recalling links to the past. Again, the speaker personifies the tree, hoping in the final stanza that the tree will be remembered like other favored trees, just as she remembered the people in her life. She mentioned Borrowdale, and this is a reference to the Wordsworth ode, "Eat Tree," another poem praising trees. Fear, trimming hope and death, the skeleton and time, the shadow is from the Wordsworth poem. The casuarina tree is a symbol for the life and memory. Since trees tend to live much longer than humans, they are used in the poetry as living connections between generations of people. Thank you.